So, my name is Roy. I graduated here about 10 years ago. The picture up here is not a picture of a broccoli. That's actually me. About 3 months before my first day. And today I manage marketing for a big investment firm that deals with cryptocurrencies. I play soccer. I'm overall a very, very happy guy. But for most of my life, I suffered from a crippling fear of public speaking. I don't mean the kind of fear of public speaking where, you're nervous before, you're kind of shaking, you're having trouble sleeping. I mean the kind of fear of public speaking where I was in a bathroom stall with nerves-induced nausea about the entire day before a presentation. I would consciously elect to skip a class, to take an F, to get my grade-obsessed parents pissed off that I got an F on an assignment because I bailed on the presentation. That's the kind of fear of public speaking that I had, and I had become an expert at excuses, even here at Government. So when I wanted to skip a presentation, I would say things like this. Hey, Mr. Doring, I have a benign vocal cord lesion, and I won't be able to make the presentation. I don't even know what that is. I'll say, hey, Mr. Cameron, sorry I can't present today. I have acute laryngitis. Mr. Monty, so sorry I won't be able to make it. I've been punched in the throat and I can't speak. Mr. Bearcloth, I have SARS. Mr. Shima, my dog has SARS. Mr. Seuss, I've contracted rabies and I won't be able to... Miss Drew, my neighbor's dog was bitten by my sister who has acute vocal salmonella and she punched my dog and I don't even know what I'm saying, but I cannot give the presentation today. So, that's the kind of fear of public speaking I had. And 3 months before my college graduation, in the peak of my fear, I received a call from the dean of the College of Business. He called me to congratulate me that I've been selected as the President's Scholar. And this was the most prestigious award that they give at the university. And I was in complete elation. I was jumping up and down. I was putting the phone on mute and just screaming. I was so happy. And after he told me this, he says, Roy, there's one more thing. We're going to need you to present at graduation. And the second he said that, I threw my phone across the room. I hung up first. And I just sat on the floor and I started crying. And the reason I started crying is because every other time an opportunity like this came up, my immediate reaction would be to quit. You say, oh, sorry, can't do it. I'll just deal with the consequences later. So that's what he proposed to me. The phone was laying on the floor, and I started to think, what am I going to do? The entire journey I've been through played through my head. I thought of here at Abilene, all the classes I missed. I thought of, in college, every single presentation I bailed on, the ones I didn't bail on where I was stuck in that bathroom stall before. And everything played in my head. From the first moment in 5th grade where dancing my glossophobe happened, to the very end. And I realized that every decision I've ever made in my life, there's 2 factors. For me, it's called Bertha and Paula. Bertha is on the right, that very large monster-looking thing. That is doubt. Every single time I made a decision, I'd be excited, and then a spark of doubt would hit me. And that's when I started saying, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I'm not good enough. I'll be too scared. And then there was Paula, who would scream, do it. Just do it. Just stop listening to Bertha. Stop saying, just ignore every single doubt that's in your mind and just do it. And Bertha was around my entire life. I used to want to be a roller coaster designer. I would play around in class for hours a day just drawing roller coasters, drawing the measurements, drawing where the drops were, everything. And the first time I took a physics class, I realized how hard it was. And instead of just working a little harder, just realizing, okay, this is actually going to take some work, I quit. Because Bertha told me maybe I just wasn't good enough for that. The next one, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. I played my entire life, it was my passion. And what ended up happening is I ended up gaining a little bit of weight when I was younger. And instead of working harder and being like, you know what, I just gotta get in shape, my doubts popped in my head. And I said, maybe I'm just too fat to play soccer. Maybe I just can't do it. And that's how my whole life was. I would blame all of my issues on something else. I couldn't be a pro soccer player because I was too fat. Not because I wasn't willing to work hard enough to get in shape, but because I was too fat, and that was that. So, the phone was still laying on the floor. I hadn't called it back, nothing. But I made a decision. I decided that I had a sick aunt, in Argentina that I had to go visit during my graduation ceremony, and I couldn't make it to my own graduation ceremony. So to pick someone else for the President's Scholar Award. Now, as I called him back, he picked up the phone, and before I could start to explain, only one thing came out of my mouth, and that was, I'll do it. And I have no idea where that voice came from, but the result was this right here 3 months later.
All my life, I've been deathly afraid of two things: public speaking and spiders. The idea of public speaking horrified me to such an extent that if a professor ever gave one of my classes the option of jumping into a pool filled with venomous water spiders in place of giving a speech, I'd be the first one with my swimming trunks on. But somewhere along the way, I realized something. I realized I couldn't continue to allow this fear to consume me. I started researching presentation techniques such as looking just above the eye line of the spectators, deep breathing exercises, and imagining the entire audience is naked. In a matter of 2 months, I went from sweating like a madman upon addressing a group of 20 students to conducting persuasive speeches to city councils throughout LA, to this. Even though I appear before you today with sweaty palms, perhaps a slight tremor in my discourse, there is no way I take a pool of spiders over this. I realize fear is nothing more than a glass barrier waiting to be shattered. Because it's fear that sets limitations, that makes us complacent, that justifies excuses, that does not allow us to be extraordinary. Once you've shattered that barrier, there's nothing that can stop you.
That was supposed to be a video, but it didn't come up here. But that is what I realized at that specific moment. When I said I'm in, I was very confused. After I said it, I actually hung up on him again and threw my phone again. Because I had no idea what was going on. I didn't say it. I didn't feel that came from me. It came from something in the back of my mind that hasn't been present most of my life. And the reason for that is my decision process was always this. It was always excitement, whether it came from someone saying, hey, let's take a backpacking trip to Europe. Let's apply for this job that we're not really qualified for and work really hard to get it. Let's do anything that puts me outside my comfort zone. The first reaction was always excitement. And then it was doubt. It was like, well, wait a second. Isn't that backpacking trip kind of expensive? Isn't that country a little bit dangerous? Will your boss give you the days off? It was always the seed of doubt that came up immediately after that excitement. And then after that doubt, it was always reconsider. It was always like, maybe we'll do it next year. Or maybe not this time. Or maybe, let me just work a little harder and develop this skill and then maybe I could do the presentation. That was my entire process every time I made a decision. And with that, I strengthened my Bertha, my doubts. And with each time I strengthened my doubts, every other decision I made after that became even harder to get a positive result. So what I did after realizing where that voice came from, where that I'll do it voice came from, I started restructuring my decision process. So when that excitement happened, the next thing that happened was, once again, doubt. Doubt will never leave. Even today, every single thing I do in my life, there is doubt. But it is about recognizing the doubts People say that fear and doubt is there to protect you from danger. Yes, that's the case when you're about to cross the street. That's the case when the guy in the ice cream truck says, come to the back, I have some nice candy. That's the case in those situations. But when it comes to doing things that put you way the heck outside of your comfort zone, that is deceiving. That is not there to protect you, it's there to hold you back. So that's the realization that needs to happen in the middle. And then you act. And that's what I turned it into. And once that's belief there. That will always be there. We just have to learn to silence it. And the most recent time I faced doubt started after my graduation ceremony. I posted a video on YouTube. I got like 300,000 views. And what happened after that is I decided to write a book. And throughout that entire process of writing the book, people would tell me, aren't there a million books about public speaking? Aren't there a million books about fear? And I ignored the doubts, and what happened next is I published my book last month. And I published my book last month. It's on Amazon, it's at Roman's bookstore, and I couldn't be happier that I made the decision to once again ignore my doubts. And thank you, everybody. I really